Walking down these empty streets, echoes of the past I meet. Lost and wandering for so long, searching for where I belong. Sunrise breaking through the night, guiding me back to the light. Every step feels like a prayer, promises hang in the air. Come back home, heal your heart, where the love never parts. Come back home, find your peace. In this place, your pain will cease. Memories of laughter and tears, answers to my deepest fears. In these walls I find my truth, washing away the years. Oh, the road was long and rough, but my spirit's had enough. Here in the sanctuary, healing feels extraordinary. Come back home, heal your heart, where the love never parts. Come back home, find your peace. In this place, your pain will cease. Long and rough, but my spirit's had enough. Here in the sanctuary, healing feels extraordinary. Come back home, heal your heart, where the love never parts. Come back home, find your peace. In this place, your pain will cease. Walking down these empty streets, echoes of the past I meet. Lost and wandering for so long, searching for where I belong. Sunrise breaking through the night, guiding me back to the light. Every step feels like a prayer, promises hang in the air. Come back home, heal your heart, where the love never parts. Come back home, find your peace. In this place, your pain will cease. Memories of laughter and tears, answers to my deepest fears. In these walls I find my truth, washing away the years. Oh, the road was long and rough, but my spirit's had enough. Here in the sanctuary, healing feels extraordinary. Come back home, heal your heart, where the love never parts. Come back home.
Hey, yo. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, crew. Hope everybody's doing good. What's today? Today is Thursday. Oh my God. My baby girl, My baby girl turned 7 today. Oh my God, I can't wait to see her and celebrate her. My baby girl, the littlest one, 7 years old. I can't believe I have 18-year-olds. Well, I just had a 20-year-old. My son is turned 20 last week, and my littlest one is turning 7. Yeah, yeah. The old head started over again. Having children in your older age. Dag, it's hot, man. It's real hot this morning. Good morning, y'all. This morning was crazy, yo. So like last night, the my sink clogged up, man. I thought it went down to this morning. I'm trying to wash dishes in the sink clamp. Y'all don't believe. Like I'm in my robe, plunging the sink, trying to get everything together. I forgot my glasses. Listen, today was insane. But I got a show for you, and guess what? I'm gonna get right into it because I'm not gonna wait around. Because I got something for y'all that I think that y'all absolutely need today. I want to talk about love, and I want to talk about love, how we learn love as men. How do we learn it? How do we operate in it? Are we good at it? How did we learn love? Do we do it well? Are we sure about our love? It's a whole lot of things, man, that we really need to take a look at as far as love goes. Sometimes you can assume you love well and don't really love at all. So I want to talk about today. I want to talk about unlearning love. What does it mean to unlearn love? What does it mean to challenge some of the concepts of love that we have grasped? Do men really love? And how do we love? And how is it defined? Another thing is sometimes we try to love like women want us to love, but sometimes the love on women's side is skewed. I think that in some cases we all, both men and women, have made up what we think love is. And I think that we go to war a lot with women and men with women because we're trying to really figure out, like, what's this love thing all about? Is it real? Who's right about it? Who's wrong about it? And I think that we have just gone about this thing wrong. And I think we just need to redefine love and what it really, really means. I think the thing is, and I'm gonna ask some questions this morning, so I hope that you would jump in the chat and share your thoughts. But I think the early lessons of love is what we got to redefine. Like, what's our early lessons of love? How did you learn love? And if you're in the chat, first of all, good morning Facebook, good morning YouTube, good morning Instagram. First question I want to ask today, and I'll go into my thoughts on it, but I want you to jump in the chat and share your thoughts on it as well. What were your first experiences or teachings about love as a man? Like, where did you get your definition from? Like, so for me, and you can answer that question. You can jump in the chat. I want this to be a conversation this morning, because I want to just see, I can't teach on this in a sense of everyone had a different definition of love. I think we can learn from each other this morning, men. And so let's look at this. I know for me, my first experience or teachings about love really came from, I watched my father. I'll say it this way. I never saw my mom and my dad kiss and hug and like dance in the kitchen, right? That wasn't my definition of love, right? I didn't learn love that way. How I learned love was this joint crazy this morning. Anyway, how I learned love was my dad would put that every 2 weeks. My dad would put a check in my mother in the mirror in their bedroom, right? In their little slit, slide that check right there and would sit there every 2 weeks without fail. Cause I used to hang out in my parents' room a lot. And I would go in there and I would see that check sitting in there, right? And my dad told me one time when I was little, he said, "You know what, son? I work, I go to church, I come home, I save, I take $100 for myself and I get the rest to your mother's and make sure everything's taken care of. And all I need, son, is some food and my cable and my boxing," right? And so in my mind, I started to define love from a man's standpoint of just taking care of a woman, just providing, right? And so I started to define my definition of love was shaped by watching my father provide. So if my mom, for example, my mom would say, okay, every twice a year, my mom would take me and my sister on a trip, Canada or somewhere, right? And my father would never go, but he would always make sure we had everything we needed to go. And my mom said, look, I want to go here. I want to go this long. I want the kids to have this. We had everything we wanted on these trips, but my father was never there. Right. So as a kid, I never wondered like why dad ain't here. You a kid, you going on a trip, you know? But I noticed like, dad, my dad provides. So my definition of love was as long as I provide, then I am producing a loving environment for my children. And I thought that was the pinnacle of love, provision. How I learned a little more about love or shaping love was I would talk to my mom a lot about how she would tell me how I should make a woman feel, right? This is how a woman should feel if you love her, right? And that was a good definition. It was a good definition of it made sense, you know. But the problem with me learning love from my mom about how to make a woman feel was that I grew up more concerned about how a woman felt as far as love than how I felt. So now you start to see how some of these lessons that shape love growing up, for me, on one side, from my father, I'm learning, hey, love is provision. You ain't got to hug, you ain't got to kiss, you ain't got to dance, you ain't got to do none of that. You don't got to smack no booty in the kitchen. You don't got to, you know, all the things that make love or make women and all these things that make us lovers. I never learned that from my father. But from my mother, as good as the lesson was of, hey, you know, love this woman, my mother's lessons almost made me forget about me. And I'm going to tell you what happened. My mother's lesson of love became more prevalent than my father's lesson of love, or it hurt more. I'm trying to explain this because I'm just trying to rap to y'all this morning. I think I adopted my mother's version of love more than my father's version of love, right? So I provided as a man, but I lean more to let me make everyone happy. And then I look up and I realize, wow, she has what she needs. The kids have what they need. And the only person who's lacking here is me. So even though both of those definitions of love came together and shaped the wrong definition of love, bro. It shaped the wrong definition of love because I had a love that never fulfilled me. I didn't even know what love was supposed to feel like. Especially as a leader, as a giver, it's almost like, hey, man, my love is proven by what I do. And so I start to think, well, maybe I'm not enough. Let me just do. And in all my doing, what I lost was a sense of the necessity of love coming back at me. So I didn't learn the exchange of love. Let me see. Good morning, Eric. Good morning, Joey. Let me see. Good morning, Joey Smith. Raised by a single mother. Okay, let's get into it. I've always heard a woman can't raise a boy to be a man. Okay. But from my experiences, my mother raised me in which she taught me how to love a woman. Yes. Which led me to seeking out what it takes to actually be a man. Okay. Landed my first job at 10 at the community barbershop. My man, good work. Where I seen so many examples of different calibers of men. Yes, you learn a lot in the barbershop. Yes. In which I got to choose what. Let me show you. Let me see if I can show you here. Let me show Joey's. Okay. There you go. Okay. At the barbershop where I seen a lot of examples of different caliber of men, in which I got to choose what characteristics I didn't want for myself as I grew into a young man myself. Okay, so let me ask you, Joey, how did it feel as a man? Okay, as a single man, right? And we'll get into the single mother thing in a minute, right? But as a man growing up, right? How did you kind of handle having to kind of guess at what was good and what was bad, or what, like, how did you choose? Like when you say you looked at different characters, you kind of learned on the fly. So how did that work for you? How did that work, or how did that feel, having to kind of guess what is what? You know, talk to me about that. Yeah, let's get into this, Joey, because I really want to see this, and I want men to really share this morning. So if you're in the chat, share your definition of love, or what the question we're working on this morning is, where or what were your first experiences of or teachings about love, right? Because this affects how we go forward. In fact, this affects our fatherhood. It affects how we raise our daughters. If you have daughters, it affects how you raise your sons as well. It matters how they see you love, right? For my children, I was always in a rush, right? Because I was rushed growing up. I was 14 when I started speaking and traveling and working and speaking. And so my life went so fast that sometimes even that affected how I loved my children, that my love was, come on, get ready for life, right? My love was be ready for life. And more than this is how you do life, right? And so that's where I think I messed up sometime with my kids, was because I was a rushed kid. I expected them to just know stuff, because growing up I just had to know stuff. And so that's I think the way we learn love is the way we show love. Let me say that again. The way we learn love is the way we show love. And so you got to define it. We have to be able to define what is love, right? So that's one question. That's one question I got on the table. So if you're coming in, the first question this morning, we're discussing unlearning love. How did we learn love as men, right? How do we show love as men, right? Because again, you got to realize that if you're going to have a successful relationship, you have to define and have a healthy definition of love, because the danger of connecting with a woman who also doesn't know what love is, she's making it up every day. And then what happens is you begin to move the goalpost she begins to move the goalpost on what love is. So today love is provision, and tomorrow love is giving me lots of hugs and kisses. And then what happens in relationship is, because there's not a definition of love, or how we do love, or a communication of love, then the woman's moving the goalpost and you don't know how to love her. And then you're not expressing how you need to be loved. So a lot of times women don't know how to love you. And some women aren't even ever taught how to love you, because a lot of women learn that they're the only ones who have need in a relationship, right? A lot of women have learned that they are the only thing that counts, is in their feelings are the only thing that counts in a relationship. So it's dangerous for a man to go into a relationship with undefined love, or not knowing what it is, right? Let me go back to Joey. Joey, so go back in the chat, Joey. I'm gonna ask you again. If you're still on, you saying I chose what characteristics I didn't want for myself as I grew up. How was that for you? What was that experience like for you, growing up trying to figure out love from watching different guys in the barbershop? You know, I want to get into that with you for a second. Also, another question: how does society and cultural norms influence how you love? That's another thing. How do cultural norms and societal norms, how does that influence how men perceive love? Because in society, Chris Rock said something one time. He says a man is only judged by what he gives. Period. Not how he feels, none of that. A man is only judged by what he gives. And as wrong as that is, it's a fact. It's a fact. That's how you're judged, what you can provide. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be providers, but all in all, bro, even in provision, there's other parts of you that matter, and there's other parts of you that need fulfillment as well. Let me see. Let's talk to Ron. All right. My parents were together, but I spent equal time. My parents were together, but I spent equal time with them. Okay, so you must be saying my parents weren't together, but I spent equal time with them. But they parented very differently. Okay. My mother was the provider. Okay. And my dad was the supporter. For example, my mother would pay for me to play basketball, but never be at the game. But my dad, okay, let me see. Okay. I can see it all over here. But never be at the game. But my dad was at all of them. he in turn became my best friend. So I love in a supportive way, and my women typically are nurturing. Woo, Ron. This is why we need like a for soon we'll have. Oh, this is kind of stuff we'll discuss at the table of giants. Make sure you sign up for the table of giants. I'll be sitting with men talking deep online, table of 12. Make sure you go to my website, christianwinners.com, and talk. Go on there, sign up for the table of 12. All right. It starts October 14th, I believe. Once a week, 2 hours. We'll meet, we'll discuss, we'll really get into it. So make sure you go to my website, christianwinners.com, sign up for that. Okay. This is very interesting, Ron. This is very interesting because let me ask you this. And so deeper than that, how did it shape how you love? Okay. So I see at the end. So I love in a supportive way. What does that mean, Ryan? You love in a supportive way. You love in a supportive way. Okay, so you said your mom was a provider. Okay, so your dad was a supporter. Your dad would be there. Okay, so you're a time guy. So I think what Ron is saying is that the time, the effort, the being, the in there with you type of love. Okay, okay, so okay, and so let me ask you something. As a supporter, Ron, and your mom being the provider, you saying here, my women typically are nurturing. I want you to go deeper, Ron, because I want what kind of women. See, gentlemen, I want us to see something because how we learn love is how we choose the woman that we love. Ooh. Right? I found myself early on always choosing like the most broken woman. Like, where did that come from? Man, I gotta do a psych evaluation on myself. Like, I gotta think about that. I'm thinking about it in front of y'all. I think I've thought about this before, but I'm thinking about this again in front of y'all. Anybody else? Anybody else done that? You've chosen broken women, like not knowing. Like I don't know. Like they just be broken, and I'd be like, dang man. And I don't know. And I think it might be driven. I think for me, I think it might have been driven by being called to speak and preach at 14, where I was the fixer. Right. So I was always attracted without even knowing I was attracted to problems. Eesh. My God, I'm counseling myself in front of y'all. This is nuts. Right. Yeah. I chose broken women because I was the fixer. So I brought in my life, I was a fixer. So I kept on bringing the fixer mentality to the relationship. Yeah, I brought the fixer mentality to the relationship. And if you're a fixer, that means you always are going to find something broken. Just as much as if you're a giver, you're always going to find a taker. Man, so man, all right, Eric, let me see what Eric is saying. Love is unconditional bond, but my version I was taught had to be driven by what exactly you bring to the table as a leader, provider. Never lead with emotion unless you're in protective mode. Okay. So Eric is saying, okay, love is unconditional bond, yes. But my version, okay, I was taught had to be driven by what exactly you can bring to the table. Okay. How many of you other guys in the chat feel that love really was learned by what you can bring to the table or driven by what you can bring to the table? Because that's another thing. This is the thing. That mindset, what it does is it teaches us to be workers for love. It's almost like as a man, you have to earn love. And that is oh my God, listen to me, gentlemen. That is the worst way to go into a relationship. Feeling as if you have to earn love. See, a lot of women, especially hurt women or women who've been hurt before they met you, will make you climb the rough side of the mountain to get love, to receive her love or earn her love. And if you love her enough, you'll do it. But then you'll look up and realize that after that hard climb to love her, you're either tired and can't go anymore, or that sets a precedent for the relationship where you become a constant earner and not a receiver of love. And see, I get that, Eric, because that Eric is my cousin. I get that's how we were. That's how my pop was. That's how your dad was, right? Provide, bring it to the table, right? All that talk. But this is the thing. This is the thing. The tough talk about being the provider, that lesson we learned, about don't bring your emotions. This is why because I really want to write a book on emotional inequality in relationships. That the only focus is on women's emotions in a relationship as if men don't have feelings. But then I'm starting to think, man, I was really going to go hard in on women, and I am, about how the only thing that matters to them is their emotions. But then I wonder sometimes, do we drive that? Come on, gentlemen, do we drive that though? Do we drive that by hiding what we need or not communicating our desires or not showing that emotion to women? Do we drive the concept that only their feelings and their emotions matter? We might be helping women ignore us because we ignore ourselves. Let me see. Let me get into it. All right. But my dad was the youngest. Okay, Ron, just back to Ron. But my dad was the youngest, never left my grandmother's house, and in turn was immature in decision making. Okay. So as a teenager, I became my father's father. Okay, Ron. So how does that affect your love life? How does that affect you? How does this, Ron, how has this affected your decision making? How has that affected your decision making? See, these are the things, and this is what I want. This is why I was so provoked, and I'm staying here for like a couple weeks, bro, because I got like a list of like 20 questions that I want to put on the table before you guys, because what this helps us to do is see how we're drawing out how we grew up and what we saw. And then now we get to learn how we, why we operate like we operate. Remember, I was teaching y'all about temperament and how temperament is something that you can't change as a man. It's something you can recognize. There are some things you can change in life. There are other things that will never change. Even if they're negative, they won't change. The only way to kind of win is to recognize it and be able to control it, right? And so a lot of us don't know why we are how we are. And temperament really comes from your two parents and your 4 grandparents, right? And so there's a lot of things that you don't have to guess or you don't have to pray about. You can go ask your dad or ask your mom if they're alive, yo, why am I like this? And I wish that more parents and sons especially had these conversations, these intimate conversations about who we are, because it's a lot of battles that we kill ourselves over that we could understand if we had communication with our parents. It's like, you ever beat yourself up like, yo, why am I like this? I can't stand it. I'm like this. And you are killing yourself. Like, why, you're going off on yourself and you don't realize that there's somebody in your family who can explain to you why you are how you are, why you love like you love. See, there's a cycle of bad relationship a lot of times. There's a cycle of bad decision making as far as love and intimacy with women. It happens in our life. It's a lack of, we don't know where it comes from. And we go through the same process over and over. Like I said earlier, I was a person that chose broken women. I had to really look back in my life and see why. Like, listen, a reflective man is a man that's on a journey to heal. Let me say it again. A reflective man is a man that's on a journey to heal. You got to be reflective. In fact, you got to create a cycle of reflection in your life. You have to be a constant reflector, a person who constantly looks at themselves, so you're not guessing how to change, right? The answers are always in what happened in the past, right? So Ron, how did that affect your, like, how did you kind of being the dad to a dad that kind of was in an immature way because of how he grew up, right? That's another thing I want to get into. I'll get into later, but I want to really discuss how we should be forgiving a lot of times of our parents. This is a whole nother podcast. I don't want to get into it today, but I want to talk about how we need to be more forgiving of our parents, because when you become an adult, you'll realize that they were just an adult trying to figure it out. And there's a lot of grudges that we hold against our parents because we wish they were a certain way. And then you realize, hey, they were human trying to figure it out, at the same time. Let me see. All right. Meaning I'm very affirming, supportive, yes. And what me, okay, and what my mate wants to do. I'm her biggest cheerleader, okay. But I'm not a good dater, planner of dates, okay. But if something is planned, I'm there, okay. I'm there early. I'm better now, much better. In fact, Ron, you hilarious, bro. Let me let me read this whole comment. Okay. Oh, did I lose it? Where you at, Ron? Okay. Much better. But in fact, seeing some things about my dad made me do the opposite. Yes. I tried to be the balance of both of them. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Um, so Ron, do you think that because your dad wasn't the because he was there, but he wasn't the initiator in relationship, or he wasn't the provider, or the person who was planning stuff, do you think that that affected the fact that you're not like a dater, a good dater? How did that, I'm seeing that probably affected, but that's the point, right? I'm not trying to psychoanalyze us, right? I'm trying to get us to be more reflective, so we're not guessing our way through our life or beating ourselves up for stuff that really is in our system psychologically from watching what our parents do. You will be surprised how many things you do, how many lessons you learn, and how many things you do unconsciously because of how your parents were. All right. Let me see. Let me see with Joey. Okay. I've only been in 2 relationships in my entire life, 33 years of my life. Okay. Entire 33 years of my life. Seeing my mother never being loved properly, okay, or treated with true value of her worth made the saying, love is blind, much more logical to me. Okay. Meaning I was led astray in my first relationship. I took on her characteristics of being a people pleaser and being nonchalant and oblivious to her disrespect and wrongdoings. Yes, I had to be broken down, and I picked myself up. I picked myself back up piece by piece as to where now I'm currently the best version of me I've ever been. Man, that's why I need a sound machine. Joey, that's big time, bro. That's big time. That's big time. Let me see it again. Let me see. 2 relationships. Seeing my mother never be properly loved. Yes. So what happens then for you, Joey, is you never saw the exchange of love, right? You never saw the exchange of love, and so that hinders you. That hinders you because you never got to see the exchange of love. And a lot of men who never saw the exchange of love, again, you were like I was explaining earlier, how we climb the rough side of the mountain to love somebody, never looking for anything back. I was crushed like that. I had a relationship. I haven't had a lot of relationships either, Joey. I'm like you, because I know like the cost of relationship, right? The cost of relationship, man, it could be wearing, right? But I was in a relationship that did the same thing to me. I'm talking about crushed me. But you know what I thank God for in that relationship? I finally found personal value. That relationship, I had done this all my life. The giver, nothing, expecting nothing in return. I'm just going to love. I thought my love would be enough, right? To carry the relationship. I thought that my love would be enough to carry the relationship. And I wasn't looking for an exchange of love back for her. See, women don't realize, as much as, oh, men ain't this, men trash, men don't love. see, this is what I'm talking about. The ignorance of social media drives this narrative that men don't love and men this and men that. It's not true. It's not true. We have been broken. We have been scarred by love. There are a lot of men who are madly big time lovers, but have been broken, right? So in that relationship I was in, I was crushed by this woman, right? Crushed because I'm like, I think that relationship made me realize what you realize, Joey, that I was a people pleaser. And I felt like as long as I could give enough. But there are some women, gentlemen, that you can't give enough to. Bro, let me tell you something. This is the Dear Brother podcast, right? We in our community, so we talk straight in our community. There are some women that are empty wells, and there's nothing you can do and not enough you will ever do to be able to love her. Those relationships you have to run from, bro. You know why? Because if people tell women all the time, if that guy is like that, run from him. Get away from that kind of guy. But nobody teaches men, get away from that kind of woman. What they teach us is just love her, be patient, be kind. Listen, there's no level of kindness and love that you can give to a woman that's in the business of breaking men. Let me move on. All right, Eric. Okay. My father was present, but often not there because of all of his transgressions of life, trying to figure who he was, which later on led to being diagnosed as manic depression. Unchecked, right? Unchecked. See, because when we get into these conversations, we also get, Eric, I'm so glad you brought that up. Because that's another thing. Why do men run around so much? Why the gentlemen that some of you on here, listen, this is our community. Some of you on here now for me, I was never the dude that's like, yo, let me go have X with a lot of girls, right? Let me just go hit everything I can. That was never my mentality, right? Not because I was better than anybody. I didn't think girls liked me growing up. So for me to be like, yo, let me go tag every girl I can, I didn't even think girls liked me enough to let me, right? So I didn't chase because I didn't believe, right? Boy, it's something you look back on your life and how you make decisions, right? I've always had low self-esteem growing up. So like girls would like me, but I didn't think they really did. So I never chased like that, right? But for some of you, we're talking about like for Eric's comment, where his father was going through the transgressions of life, and it took him away from his family. Why do you think it is that men, some men go and say, look, X is my, I'm just gonna go do this with him. Like, what is it that men that some of us, and some of you may have been like this, like, because I don't think men go have X with a lot of women because they just want to. I think it's an internal thing, and it's also driven by music, driven by all the music we growing up. How many women you can get, how many women you can have X with, right? And we build that, right? But what is that in men that makes us do that, other than just getting a lot of girls? I think it's psychological. I think a lot of times men who feel like that's the key to life is how many women they can lay down with. I think that's almost a low self-esteem too. That's almost trying to build something up, right? But we don't look at it like that because society doesn't say look at it like that. Society says, oh, it's all good. He's the man. The guy who's doing that with a bunch of chicks, he's the man. And we don't realize that a lot of times that comes from a broken space too, right? The man who has a lot of chicks and just knocking them all down, that comes from a broken space as well. But again, you grow up trying to be that guy. I want to be like him, not realizing that dude is broken. Let me see. Good point. Good point. Let me see. Let me go down here further. Oh, y'all dudes just talking today. Let me see. All right. I also never saw my dad argue with people and was always very accountable for his actions. Okay. So when I was with women that lacked accountability, had me in a position where I would take accountability for things I didn't even do. Just, oh my God, bro. This is heavy. This is heavy, Ron. I would take accountability for things I didn't even do just for the sake of not arguing. Yes. So that's the thing. So you learn love through a way from a man's point of view is that a man doesn't argue with a woman, right? But you listen, this is the thing about arguing with women. You don't have to argue, right? Arguing is a woman's thing. That's their way to win. Listen, you got to realize this. In an argument, I want to say this to you. I want you to learn something from this, gentleman. In an argument with a woman, most times she's afraid. Most time women are afraid in an argument. So all they have is this. And the more intense the argument gets, the more she's going to do this, the more reckless she's going to become with this. This is all she has. And then we get all bent out of shape when a woman's talking like that, not realizing that number one, she's scared. So you don't have to argue back in a vengeful way because you're arguing with a scared person. The only reason she's acting like that because she's scared. She's not bossing up. She's scared. This is all she got. Right? It's like a big bear coming at you and you know you better not run. So you just try to row as if the bear going to get scared. But that's all you got. Right? And so you got to realize that about women. So our goal in our lives is not to argue with them. And I've argued with women before, but it doesn't get anywhere. Let me tell you why. Because when you argue with a woman, even if you're right, she's going to turn into a victim, and she's going to focus on more your tone than what you're saying. So that you arguing with a woman, you'll never get your point across, because women become victims in arguments. Right? I noticed some women that sneak in our podcast. I'm probably gonna get some emails like, whatever. I'm talking to men. This is the fact. Women quickly become victims, right? But I think that's another thing. A lot of times we tailor our love. That's such a great point, Ron, because we don't stand up for ourselves in relationship. You know what we do? We go to a man cave. But you know what happens to men in men caves? They die. You see, you're not just watching the game in that man cave. You're not just drinking that beer in that man cave. You're dying in there. You decided I'm no longer going to communicate. I looked at some statistics I'll bring tomorrow morning. But there's a lot of men who have decided at some point to just survive relationship and not be in it. Right? Because at some point he can't deal with the female emotion and he doesn't know how without either leaving or going off. And so we go into our man cave and you die in your man cave. You're not really watching the game. You're dying, bro. You're not really watching the game. You're deciding to cut the world off around you. And again, I'm not cursing man caves. I'm just trying to bring the reality that a lot of men don't realize that as much as you call that a cool place is really where you go to die. Let me see. My mother loved us, but rarely say so. Okay. But showed us always through support and measures, as if a drill sergeant is happy for his troops. Okay. So this is the question, guys. See, man, I love that y'all talking. They say men don't talk. We do talk, right? We do talk. Men talk. Men just talk in safe places. And if for some of you ladies in here that are eavesdropping in our conversation, yeah, men do talk. Men talk when they feel like it's a fair place and they'll get a fair exchange. Okay, so my mother loved us, but rarely would say so. That's okay. How did that affect you? And then how does that affect your relationship? How does that affect your marriage? Right? How does it? But showed us love through support measures if a drill sergeant is happy. Yeah. And see, that's another thing. A lot of us only love through a hard way or through that support and go ahead, but we don't learn how in an open way. Let me say this. We learn love through support. Yay, that cheer. Oh, yay. But then we don't learn love this. We don't learn how to close in on love, right? So cheering love is one thing. But if you're going to have full love, Full love is both. Full love is I'm cheering for you to push you further. The other part of love is I'll embrace you and carry you as well. Right? Good morning, our dear sister. I told y'all we got some sisters. Excuse me, we got some sisters in our podcast, and this great sister right here, Yolanda, has been hanging out with us, guys. Let's say good morning to Yolanda. We always love and honor the sisters that's in our room. Yolanda's in here every morning. Thank you for being here every morning, hanging out with us, Yolanda. Let me see. Let's get into this heavier. Carrying mountains we should be climbing. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But you know what? Sometimes we got to admit, that it's a mountain, and sometimes we got to put the mountain down. Sometimes we got to put the mountain down to assess whether we should be carrying it or how much of it we should be carrying. Let me see. My mother is the reason I love strong women. Okay, she made it work, and I want it for nothing at all. Okay, so I appreciate the strength in women, but neither of my parents were the I love you type of parents. Okay, so sometimes seem detached emotionally. Let me see. I can know I love you and expect that you'll recognize it by my actions, but also can step away without emotion. And see, that's me, Ron. That's me too. Like how that's me. I can walk away from a situation as if I never knew you. And that I really see, we healing this morning, bro. This is what healing is. Healing is like when you like, damn. Like when you really start looking at yourself like, yo, this is why I move like this. This really helps you, right? I was like that too. It can step away emotionally. I think I learned that from my dad as well. My dad was able to just be like, all right, then. Right? And have no emotional attachment. And I think the generation before us as men, they weren't taught to have emotions at all. Right? You got to realize that. You got to realize this is very important for us as men to realize that the generation of men, I'm 44. So the generation of men before us never were taught love. Hell, most of them were never taught romance. They were taught provision, right? And taken care of. That's why a lot of our father's generation could have 2 and 3 families. Because it wasn't about love. It was about attraction and provision. So I'll attract the right woman, I'll get her pregnant, I'll provide for her. And I could do that in 2 different states. See, there was a generation of men that were like that, right? Emotionally detached, right? And my father being a Vietnam vet and a narcotics cop, and he was always kind of running for his life. So he was always able to just, right? It was about survival. Right? And survival. So anytime things seem war, like I gotta be safe. I gotta go be safe. Right? That's why a lot of men run from relationships. That's why a lot of us run from relationships. It ain't because we want to be out of them, but as soon as you feel like unsafe, you panic and I gotta go. Right? And so then a lot of us will switch to another woman. Right? And then you'll find the same pattern. Because a lot of times it's our own brokenness. Yeah, Ron. Empty wells, bro. You can't fill it up. You can't fill an empty well. You can love her. You can pour into her. You can't fill an empty well. And you got to protect yourself from that woman. Wait till I get into Proverbs, y'all, and really start talking about this concept of the silly woman, the strange woman, the vengeful woman. See, these are the things we sit in church and we never talk about, right? Because this happened to me. Growing up, I loved my mother. My mother was like, I would play in my mother's hair when I was little. And she, so in my mind, all women were perfect. Right? In my mind, growing up, women were perfect. Men were flawed, right? But right? So I would see my dad get mad. I would see my dad so I said, okay, men are flawed, but women are perfect, right? So that's how I grew up thinking. But when I was 16 and my first girlfriend cheated on me, I said, oh, women aren't perfect, huh? oh man, women hurt people, right? I'm thinking women are the dolls of the universe. They hurt women have no harm in their system. They do not harm. No, I found out real quick. That's not how that goes, right? Women will harm you, bro. Women will harm you. And I realized that. I had to wake up and realize that a woman will hurt you, right? Empty walls. Let me see. I'm gonna get into this next question in a minute. Did my father love us? Yes, sir. But wasn't in projected, but it wasn't projected. And that's why I fight hard to make sure I commit to my son, communicate the exchange of love. Yes, yes. So in that case, Eric, you learned, like Ron said earlier, you learn what not to do, right? But understand this, gentlemen. Your fuel for love can't be maintained by what we didn't have. Or let me say that better. Okay, so like we're saying, okay, I learned what not to be from my father, right? There's a lot of things I learned what not to be from Tom Winters. Like, okay, I don't want to be like that. But you got to realize that there's a fight not to be like that. It's not just a decision. It's a decision and then a fight. Because you got to realize that monkey is already on your back from what you saw. So be wise, men. If the fuel is, I don't want to be like my father, then understand that decision is now going to come with a fight. Because it's not just, that's what you learned over years. That's what you saw over years. That's a 20, 30-year lesson. So don't just believe because you don't want to be like that you'll continue to not be like that. It's going to be a conscious decision every day to not be like that. Let me see. Oh, our sister's talking to us. Good stuff, my brother. I'm here because I love your ministry, whether you're speaking to men or women. Yes, ma'am. I'm here for it all. Also, getting a better understanding about brothers. Yes, that's why I appreciate that you're here. How we as women can add to their life and not, yes, that's the same thing my lady tells me. She's like, Christian, you're going to have women all over your Dear Brother podcast just for the same reason you said, Yolanda. Women are learning. A lot of women don't have no idea what it is to how we feel, or how to add. Because a lot of women are in relationships. They have a man that doesn't talk. In fact, he needs to be invited to the Dear Brother podcast, right? For a lot of men, we need to invite those men, right? But yes, that's why I appreciate your presence here because you matter in these spaces. And the reason I love that you're here, because guess what, Yolanda? The day is coming where as I build Dear Brother and Dear Sister, I'll bring both of them together in one room. And we'll have healthy conversation about love so we can get some healing going on instead of all this war and nonsense on podcasts that I'm hearing about the soft woman and the hard woman and the passport bro. And, I don't like my own kind of women and I choose these kind of women and I need an exotic woman and the black woman is mean and all this chaos. All it does is wreck the only thing that matters in the world, which is love. Pure love. So thank you, Yolanda, for being with us. Thank you for sharing time with us. Let me see. I was the complete opposite. My dad was a ladies' man, and I always been really confident, and meeting women had always been extremely easy for me. Yes, I had to get to a point where I just slowed down. I realized meeting women was the easiest thing. Was the easiest thing in the world. Yeah, meeting women is the easiest thing in the world. It is. It is because women want to be loved. Women want to connect, right? It's dangerous out here for a man. You gotta have discipline because you are a commodity. It's a fact. A good man is a commodity, right? There's less men in the world than there is women, right? And so men are a commodity. So this is why you got to be disciplined and you got to know what you deserve and you got to know what you desire and you got to know what matters for you. Because listen, women are waiting. They sitting there waiting from the 20-year-old to the 70-year-old woman. They all want to be held at night. They all want somebody to call them and take them on a date. They all want to sit there and have a glass of wine with somebody who looks at them with googly eyes. It is the easiest thing to get a woman. You know what's not easy? The discipline of ourselves not to abuse our ability to get them. Yeah, that's what we got to discipline. Let me see. I've never been that man either, okay? In my younger days, I didn't know my own worth, but a lot of girls thought I was charming. And me being a nonchalant, I missed a lot of cues. Yes, yeah. Yeah, you don't see it. It's like, oh, I missed a lot of cues of them flirting and hitting on me because I've never been the type to stroke. Yeah, to stroke my own ego. People have always seen in me what I didn't see in myself, but I do now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See that confidence. Embrace it. Embrace who you are, but don't abuse who you are, Joey. Y'all hear me? Know who you are, know what you can do, but don't abuse that power because that's the trick of the enemy. Let me see. Yes, my ex-husband told me he was from women to women because what he saw his mom do to his dad with other men. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Because what happens, Yolanda, is you stop trusting women. Right? Like I said, I grew up thinking that women were like the women made no mistakes. All women were nice, and then you find out that it's not like that, and then it drives you to say, "Oh, I got to look out for me." Yeah, it's so harmful at times, right? Yeah, woman to woman because of what his mom did to his. Yes, yes. A lot. Listen, this is the truth. A lot of men despise women, and I'm gonna tell you something. Because y'all know I no fear, no shame, no compromise. A lot of men despise women because women aren't honest about their flaws. And if we can have open conversation, then we can get healed on both sides. Thank you. Yes, thank you for sharing. That's a deep thing to share. Yeah. Let me see. I tell people all the time, put me in the room with the richest man in the world and his wife. I'll leave with her. If I wanted, because I'll teach her about something she's probably never even. Yes. Take the mind, the body will follow every time. This is the thing. Don't abuse that power. See, this is the thing. Women have the power of seduction. They're born with it. Seduction is not a bad word. It's just been abused, right? It's been used wrong, right? Men have the power of authority, but we can't use it wrong. What you're discussing here, Joey, is authority and exposure, right? But because you know that's in you, don't abuse it. Guess what? Give that. I don't know if you're single or with somebody, Joey, but that gift right there that you just talked about, give that to a discernment woman. Facts. Yeah. Surviving a relationship. Yes. Surviving a relationship is yes. Yes. Eric said, good morning, Yolanda. Yolanda, you get love amongst the brethren. Big up. Good morning to Yolanda from the brethren. All right. Let me get into this next thing. Next question. Let's talk about family and role models. We talked about that a little. Did your parents, we talked about parents. Y'all run ahead of my questions already. The witness in relationship with male, okay. How do generational ideas of love differ for men? Okay. How do we think? Let's talk about that for a second. How do we think the teaching for love for men differs from the teaching for love for women? Like growing up, how was it different? How do you think men were taught love versus women? Like, let's talk about that for a second. I think there's a definite difference in how love was taught. That's why our approach is different. I really think that we need to start teaching love the same in a sense, right? We need to start teaching love the same in a sense, right? Because little boys don't know. All they know is to hug and love and give a kiss and fall down on the right. This is crazy to say, but sometimes I wish I did still have that little boy love, right? I wish that I never lost that little boy love, that little boy idea of love. I wish I never lost that. I really do. I wish I never lost that because it's easier, right? That look over your shoulder protect yourself love is so exhausting, right? It's so exhausting. Hey, I'm gonna ask y'all to do this. Hey, if this podcast is blessing your life, you're learning a lot from it. Please sow back. Please sow back, because I have men to touch. I have men's lives to touch around the world, and your giving allows me to do that, right? So if you're being blessed by what you learn here, send a cash app, send a Venmo, Master Built One, right? Be a blessing to what I'm doing, because it allows me to keep doing this, right? It allows me to touch more men's lives. It allows me to expand. Your giving allows me to also, not just in our project that we're doing with the prisons, it allows me to make the show better. It allows me to make the show longer. It allows me to get better things and advertise more. So if you believe in what we're doing here as men and for men, invest in what we're doing. Thanks so much, gentlemen. All right. Yeah, but how do we learn? How does women and men learn differently? How was the relation? How do you think growing up as a little girl? What do you think girls learn growing up about love versus what little boys grow up learning about love? Let me see. Let me go back to this first. Everybody to show love to Yolanda. Oh, thanks, guys. You're the best. Much love to each of you. Absolutely, Yolanda. You're always welcome. And any other sister, good morning to you, and thank you for being a part of what we do here. Here we go. Men are taught not to cry or show feminine side. Yes, this is the thing. This is the thing, Yolanda. Oh, my God. I'm so glad you brought this up right here, right? I wish I could screen. I want y'all to keep this forever. In fact, let me do this. Hold on. Because, I'm keeping that, Yolanda, because this is the thing. This is a big point of revelation. Men were taught not to cry or show feminine side. This is the thing. Crying is not feminine, right? That's one of the most ill lessons that men have been taught, Yolanda. That crying or being vulnerable or being communicative is their feminine side. That is one of the most destructive lessons that we have been taught as men. That's girl stuff. That is so dangerous, bro. That thinking, listen, I want to take y'all back to beginning of time. Beginning of time, God said when he created Adam, he said male and female, he created he, them. Male and female created he, them, right? So in Adam, before Eve was born or before Eve was created, the scripture says that Eve was, let me get my mind right. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do too much on the screen. Eve was in Adam. Okay? Eve was in Adam. And again, you don't have to be a Christian to believe what I'm saying. I'm just talking about principle from the scriptures. Eve was in Adam. God got took the rib out of Adam. He took out of Adam a feminine side and made a woman. So if he took Eve out of Adam, then that means Adam had in him the ability to feel, to emote, to communicate, to cry. If he didn't have it in him, he would never understand her. In fact, when he looked at Eve, he said, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She is me. She is, in Hebrew, they would assume that their language then was some type of Hebrew. As a man, ish, or there was scriptures he talked about when he looked at himself in the mirror, in the water, and he said ish, or me, man. And when he looked at Eve, he said isha, me in a better form, right? So when we talk about our feminine side, yes, that's who you marry. That's how you know who to marry. You marry your feminine side, not just some chick. So when we talk about the female emotion, you have to have female emotion in you. Because if you don't, then you have no care, no concern. Everything is not about brute and big and loud. No, It's in you to be kind, bro. It's in you to love, bro. It's in you to hug, to feel, to touch. She got it from you. Love was originally in the man. Intimacy was in man. That's where God got it from. Man, oh man, bro. Huh? Y'all feel that? That's where intimacy came from. It came from man. So anything we say is a female trait. It was in man. And maybe we need to get more in touch with the whole man. Getting in touch with all of you is not finding the girl you. Right? You married a girl version of you, but her emotions, those emotions, that's not being a woman. That's not being soft. It's being understanding. It's being in tune with everything around you. And guess what? You better have some type of female understanding of emotions and be able to tune in. Why? Because if you have daughters, I got 3. You can't walk around with this. How you going to talk to your girls? How you going to communicate with them? Right? So this whole female side thing is a bad lesson. Crying is healing. Yes, crying is a healing mechanism. Good point, Joey. Crying is a healing mechanism. Hence the rain that falls from the sky. Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to cry. You got to emote. You got to say how you feel. You got to express. Right? Good morning. Good morning, Naya. How you doing, sister? Thank you for coming on in. Yeah. Let's go deeper. I got some let's look. Let's get into some more questions here. I got so many questions for you. I was sitting up like 2 a.m. Let's talk about romantic love and self-love. When did you experience romantic love, and how did that shape your emotional growth? When was the first time in your life that you experienced romantic love, and how did it shape you as a man? Like how did it change you? How did it change you as a man? Romantic love. Now I'm trying to think. Trying to think when I experienced romantic love. I think I experienced romantic love. So you gotta be real with yourself too, because you can't just, as a man, you can't just grab experiences and be like, yeah, that was romantic love. Like when I felt romantic love, like deeply, that's probably like within the last year. Like that I felt romantic love deeply, honestly. Like because before in my other experiences in relationship, the love was about like what I could give. Within this last year was probably the first time, and I'm not blaming people I dated. I'm blaming my own mindset, right? I'm not blaming anybody I dated. I'm blaming my own mindset in the sense that there's sometimes you put it on the person you dated, but as men, we look at ourselves first, right? We're not blamers. Romantic love for me, I learned within the last year because it was the first time I allowed myself to be loved without concern about what I was going to give. Like the woman I'm with now taught me that I was lovable without having to give anything. That was the first time Romance came from me seeing my value. I understood romantic love from seeing my value through a woman's eyes. I never saw my value through a woman's eyes because the relationships I was choosing was all about me being the giver. Right? And again, givers find takers. I'm going to talk about this on the Dear Sister podcast, but givers find takers. And that's our issue. That's our issue right there. We find takers and we give our love to takers, and then we wonder why we don't have anything back. Right. So I first learned love this year because I was able to receive it. Most men we don't know how to receive love. Then there are some men that all you do is receive love because you don't give anything. Right. But talk to me. Let me see. Same. Okay. So you okay, Ryan. So you feel me. You see. Okay. Let me see. Givers must have limits because takers have. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Joe. Takers have none, bro. Takers have no limits. They will take until nothing left to take. And guess what? This is the thing about a taker. A taker will take and then move on and take from somewhere else. You got to understand, takers have no loyalty. Takers have no loyalty. And I want you to know, gentlemen, because we're in the Dear Brother podcast, there are women that are absolute takers. They have no intention of ever bringing anything to you. Right? They weren't even taught that it mattered. They weren't taught that it mattered to give anything to you. You got to realize that. Like, wake up, bro. Wake up and realize that people are people. People are people, and people will do you wrong, right? And that's why the Bible warns against certain women. The silly woman, the strange woman, the confused woman, the bitter woman. It talks about all these women. Because, listen, it's nothing that could take you down like a woman could. Every great empire has fallen because a man couldn't control himself when it came down to a woman. And see how I worded that? I didn't say because of women. A man couldn't control himself because of a woman. A woman can't take you out of control. That's why it's so important as a man that you be in control. Because a woman can't take you out of control. She can't. I'm going to tell y'all a story. Story time. So I was in college. And I was always speaking. I was speaking at Black Student Union. I was speaking at this event, that event. I was always speaking at the college. And there was a young lady who would come to each speaking engagement, right? I didn't know her. She was older, right? I probably was like 18 by this time. And so I'm going and going. By this time I had the Bible study up there, and it was growing, and all these events, right? And everything popping. And this young lady, she was a grad student. So she was probably like 21, something like that. And she would come and I would, see her, and I would keep on moving with crowds of people. And then one time she came up to me and said, "Hey, can we have lunch together?" And something was like, "Yo, don't do this, yo." But she was bad. And I'm like, okay. Dummy, right? Oh, okay. And so we have lunch. Cool. And then she says goodbye. I say goodbye. And, I'm going. And then she keeps on coming to these events. And then one day she was like, "Can I take you to dinner?" Okay. And next thing, I have an apartment on South Campus. So she comes to the apartment. And she takes off this coat, and she got this whole deal on. Now, mind you, I got a girlfriend. I'm speaking on campus, and I lead a Bible study. And she so we wind up doing the deal. I come out the room, and I'm sitting on my couch saying, "Jay, I just threw it all away." She came out the bathroom and said, "Why are you sitting there looking like that?" I said, "I don't know." She says, "Don't worry about it. I planned this from the time I met you." I planned this from the time I met you. She didn't do that to me. I didn't see enough value in me. I was so moved by attention from this older woman that I sacrificed who I was in that moment. See why you can't blame women? Women, the power to listen. Yeah, she's strong, but it's about what you allow. And I think too many of us have allowed women to destroy us and then say women ain't no good. No, you can't be the man and then say women tore you down. Just like women can't sit there and say, "I'm so strong and every man took me down." No, it's us that takes us down. Even the scripture says we're destroyed by our own lustful desires. All right, that's story time. No good deed goes unpunished. Most times we aren't doing nothing but intercepting others' karma, in which we've created with our own. Yes, absolutely. We created it. See, that's why I told you that story, because I created my own downfall. That's why I couldn't say, yeah, man, she did that to me. Now, women are powerful. Why you think the serpent gave the fruit to Eve? Because he knew how powerful she was in his life, in Adam's life, right? I had a friend I was talking to the other day. She said she was going through something with her man, or the argument she had with her man. She said, "We had the biggest argument the other day." I said, "What was it?" She said, "He believes that it was woman's fault, that the woman is that woman is the cause of the downfall of man." I said, "Huh?" Yeah, that was the biggest argument they had, because he's convinced that women are the cause of the downfall of man. No, a woman can present a downfall to you. It's up to you to take it. And if you take a loss and then blame it on a woman, then you're a loser. Let's get into it. All right. Oh man, we an hour and 15 minutes in. Y'all got me in here. Next question. How do you truly love someone if you don't fully love yourself? Well, that'll be the last question for the day. How do you truly love someone if you don't love yourself? How do you truly love someone if you don't love yourself? Or can you love someone if you don't love you? Is that possible? Is it possible to love someone else if you don't love you? I vote no. I vote it's no way that you can love someone if you don't love you. If you don't love you, you're only hoping that someone would love you. If you don't love you, you're only hoping someone will. You can't love someone and don't love yourself, because if your empty vessel can't pour into another one. See, love is about pouring. Love is not about receiving, right? It's about pouring. And this is the thing. Well, Christian, wait a minute. Love can't be about pouring. Love is about exchange. Yes, it is about exchange. But it's two people pouring. Love is about two people pouring. That way, no one ever lacks. It's called the cycle of love. No one's ever lacking. If I'm bringing the best to you and you're bringing the best to me, then we both have the best. Right? But no, you can't love someone if you don't love you. And most people that don't love themselves, they're going into a relationship hoping that someone will feel good about their love. Right? And they're willing to go connect with someone who doesn't have enough love. Right? Because we love, a lot of times we make decisions of love out of lack, what we don't have. We don't make decisions of love about out of what we do have. So most times in a relationship, a man is bringing what he doesn't have, and he wants something from her, and the woman is bringing something she doesn't have, and she wants it from him. And most of the time what we lack is our primary concern. So it's not about what we ever give to each other. It's about getting from you what I didn't get in my last relationship, or what I didn't get growing up. Right? So if I'm 50 years old and I didn't get something growing up and I'm just meeting you today, then you got a 50-year climb to try to catch up what I didn't have. You cannot connect with people that are lost in their lack, because you will become the answer to all their lack and you will be worn out. And that's a relationship that cannot survive. You cannot continue to connect with takers. They will never pull the plug. They'll never pull the plug. Let me see. How you gonna win if you ain't? Yes. How you gonna win if you ain't right within? How you gonna win if you ain't right within? Right? How you gonna do it? You can't. And I think that's what tipped the world. The whole world is on. We're all in need of love. No one's bringing a cup full. Right? No one's bringing a cup full. It's like, oh, my last relationship, I ain't get this. So now you want to wear a shorty out. No, you can't wear a woman out and try to make her fix what your mama wasn't, right? Your mama wasn't, your last girlfriend wasn't, your ex-wife wasn't. You can't go into a relationship trying to make a woman be what every other woman wasn't. And you can't try to craft a woman around your lack. Y'all hear me, brothers? You can't craft a woman around what you lacked. You can't shape her into all your needs, because you'll never accept her for who she is. Right? You got it. Brothers, listen to me, bro. You can't do it. You can't do it because you don't. This is the thing. Most of us guys and media drives this. We want an idea. You got to make sure you want that woman. You can't want the idea of a woman. You got to decide that you want that woman. You have to, because otherwise you'll just live in this spin mix of insanity all the time, trying to craft people into your own image. That's trying to be fake God. You can't craft a woman into your own image. That's not your right. Got to realize that. And you can't make a woman be everything you were missing growing up. That's why it takes a healed you. If you go into a relationship as a man without a well put together you, either you will abuse her or she will abuse you. Right? What's abuse? Abuse is two words together. Abuse is abnormal use I will abnormally use you if I don't value me. And most people are being abnormally used because they lack value within themselves. Yeah. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it. All right, let's go into it. Dear brother, the advice. Dear brother, the advice. Let me kick some advice. Anybody needs some advice before we fade today? Jump in the chat if you need some advice. Let me go over to Instagram and see. Do you need some advice? Give me, if you need some advice, come on. Throw it in. Throw it in. You need some advice, throw it in. Throw it in the chat. Relationship advice, family advice, entrepreneurial advice, business advice. How do I get through this? Understand this, guys. I'm not just I had a lot of experience with business, with relationship, with growing stuff, with how to open stuff. I've worked for myself since I was a kid. I took 2 jobs in my entire life. I was a teacher and a principal, and those were within the last 2 years. I was a teacher and a principal. And so if you need advice, throw it in the chat. I will be glad to do it. And again, if this show is being a blessing to you, make sure that you invest in the show. Please invest in the show because it will allow me to do a better show, a more creative show, add to my show, have guests on my show, and build this to be a blessing to other men. If this show is blessing you as a brother, make sure you sow something into this so I can continue to move on. Again, y'all know I came out of Guyana, did some work down there with the men in Guyana. I'm headed to Nairobi, Kenya. As y'all can see in this corner right here, the Dear Sister podcast, I'm just putting it up as an advertisement because we do have the Dear Sister podcast. Let your sisters, let your mothers, let your aunties and all of them know that there is a podcast that's just for them, speaking and building women up. That is, it gives me an opportunity to show women their value through the male perspective. Okay. So make sure you go join that podcast. All right. Any advice? Let me see in the chat. Okay. All right. All right. Let me give a moment. Last week, we have a delay. I'm ahead of you. And a lot of times I'll wait for your response and I'll realize that you guys are on a delay. So you're getting stuff a little later than I'm giving it. But this is Dear Brotherly Advice. I got about 10 minutes to give some advice to some people on relationship, on business, on what should you do now. Christian, I'm thinking this. How do you think I should go about this? If you need some advice, jump in the chat. Jump in the chat and I'll be happy to share it. Remember our mission. Remember our mission that we're on. We're trying to touch 36,000 lives here of incarcerated men in Pennsylvania. And we want to be a blessing to them. $10 will get them a book. $20 donation is 2 books, right? And it would allow us to ship a whole box of books into a prison. They can go in the prison library. They can go to each prisoner. But we want to go into each incarcerated man's hands. But we want to be able to be a blessing to them. All right. And so, again, if you need some advice, throw it in the chat. Throw it in the chat and we will get to it. Let me go over to Instagram. If anybody's in the chat here. Okay. I got a brother in the Instagram. You dealt with that for 18 years. 18 years of ups and downs. It's not easy, bro. It's not easy. It's not easy. And I thanks so much, man. I'm in here listening to the in this Instagram. Thank you for all the people that joined the Instagram. All right. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being here today. If you need some advice, remember, if you don't want to put it in the chat or if I'm getting off before you get a chance, you can email it at christian@christianwinners.com. I'll bring your question to the next to tomorrow morning show. Dear brother, you're valuable. Be great today. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Share with a brother that really needs it. Share with a brother that really needs some advice, some love, some value. Let them know we're here every morning. We wake up together. We sip our coffee. Today I got some water. And we show each other value. Brothers, I love you. You matter to me. Make sure we keep on unlearning some of the bad, negative things we learned about love. Love is real. Love is kind. God made love. And love is what runs the world. Love is what should be running the world. Love is what can change the world. All right. And anytime we see something broken, it's because there's a lack of love there. So brothers, anytime there's a lack of love, you be the light. You be the love that's right there. All right. God bless everyone. Let me pray for you go. Father, I thank you for their lives today. I thank you for where they're going. I thank you for who they are. I thank you today that a lot of men were able to express and able to reflect. I pray that more men are able to do some reflection. I pray for the vulnerability, the willingness to reflect on how we grew up so we can see how to go forward. Thank you for keeping all these. Oh, goodness gracious. Thank you for keeping all these men for what they've gone through all their life. Thank you, Lord, that none of them have fallen off and they've fallen down, but not have fallen off. It's your grace that keeps us, Lord. We don't do these things ourselves. I pray that they would have a great Thursday. I pray that they would feel love, kindness, and togetherness and tenderness. I pray that they would feel like they matter today. I pray that every man today would know he matters. Matters. And he has a reason to live, a reason to thrive, and a reason to be great. Today, Lord, let them feel your love and your kindness and your grace and your warmth in their life. Lord, I pray that they would know that there's value in their life, and no matter what they've been through, it doesn't discount their value. Hey, guys, be great. Be great today. Be great tomorrow. Be great together forever. I love you. I'll see you soon. Tomorrow morning.